Today, I want to have another go at making alcohol ink wispies in resin, but this time I'm not going to be adding tattoos to my pieces. This time, it's all going to be about those wispies. I am going to be using Let's Resin's alcohol inks again. I actually just recently got their 48 set, and I'm really intrigued to see what new colors they've given us. Anyone else find it super satisfying opening a brand new box of pigments? I know I do. Look at all these pigments. Now, I do know that 3 of these bottles are white pigment, and I'm actually really happy that they add extra white pigment. The technique I'm going to be doing here takes a bit of white, and also I know that the Petri dish technique, I don't know how that technique works yet, but I know you need a lot of white pigment for that one as well, so it's really good that they add the extra white. I'm just going to go ahead and look through all these colors, choose my colors, and then we can get started. Okay, so I've chosen my colors, but before I show you, I just want to let you know that I did notice that 3 of these bottles are also black pigments. So you get 3 white and 3 black. So technically you do only get 42 different colors, but I do think that is a good variety. So yeah, I just wanted to let you know that. So the colors I've chosen are Latte and Coffee for coaster number 1, Apricot and Peach for coaster number 2, Pear and Green for coaster number 3, and then of course I'll also be using white. This time I've decided to go with colors that I rarely use in my resin work. So I've noticed that I rarely use browns, oranges, and surprisingly greens. I'm really curious to see what kind of effect I can get with the browns. So as an artist, what color do you find you use the least in your artwork? Let me know in the comments. Since we're using Let's Resin's alcohol inks, I will be using Let's Resin's epoxy. I just thought, why not? Let's stay on brand. And yeah, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fill these coasters up about halfway, possibly less than halfway. I need to leave space for the white layer that's coming later. And I also need some room to be able to manipulate the resin without making a giant mess. Now comes the fun part. I'm going to do 4 drops of the latte, 4 drops of the coffee, and then I'm going to do 1 drop of white in each of the little circles. Now, to manipulate this resin and move around these inks, I'm going to be using a heat gun and a toothpick. You could also pick up your mold and move it around, tilt it, and it's just a matter of you moving it around, creating a design that you personally like, and that's pretty much it. One thing I like about these alcohol inks, mind you, I've only used these once before, but I've noticed that you don't need that many drops of ink to get a gorgeous color in your work. 1 drop of ink seems to be enough, but I have noticed that these bottles do like to drop 2 or 3 drops of ink at the same time, which can be annoying, but I just have to remember to pierce the tip of the bottle instead of using scissors. Okay, so on to the second coaster. For this coaster, I'm going to use the peach and the apricot inks, and I'm pretty much going to do the exact same thing I did in the first coaster. So 4 drops of each color, and then 1 drop of the white in each of the little circles. Then I'm going to use my heat gun and my toothpick to move around the resin and the inks. Let me know in the comments if you've tried this technique yet with the alcohol inks. One thing to keep in mind though is to be careful with how much you're moving your alcohol inks and your resin. If you move them around too much, the inks will blend and then it will just become muddy. So I thought I'd add this little, I guess it's a tip, to just be mindful of how much you're moving those inks so that your piece doesn't become a muddy mess. I just have to say that I'm loving how this coaster is turning out, and it reminds me of fire or a fiery phoenix. Maybe Dumbledore's phoenix? Harry Potter, anyone? And last but not least, the third coaster. For this one, I'm using the green ink and the pear ink. And again, I'm just going to be doing the exact same thing I've done with the first 2 coasters. Be sure to let me know down in the comments which coaster is your favorite once you're done watching this video. Doing this technique is a lot of fun. I've really been enjoying myself doing it, and I would highly recommend it. But the downside of using alcohol inks is that they fade. Now, I'm not 100% sure how quickly the Let's Resins alcohol inks fade, and that's actually what I'm going to be doing with these coasters. I'm going to put them to the test. I won't have an update for you in this video. It will be in an upcoming video, but I'm going to grab these coasters. I'm going to put one on my windowsill, one possibly outside, and as for the third, I'll just keep it in my craft room and actually use it as a coaster. It's going to be interesting to see how quick we'll start noticing a difference. Okay, so I like how the designs have turned out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let this cure up, and I'll be back later so we can put that white layer on top. It's now the next day, and this resin has cured up really nicely, so now it's time to add the white backing. But I am noticing that my designs shifted a little bit. I'm noticing that my designs were pulled into the middle of the coaster because I can see a bit more clear resin around the edges. But it is what it is. That's just how resin works. It's both a blessing and a curse. I probably should have let the clear resin sit a bit before I went in with the inks, but it's okay. It still looks good. I'm just going to have a bit more white space on my coasters. And I'll be back in the morning and we can demold these coasters. It's demolding time. So like I've said, I really want to keep track of how long it takes these inks to fade. So I've gone ahead and written the date and also the brand and colors that I used in these coasters. And that way it'll be so much easier to keep track of how long I've had these coasters for. With that being said, let's get to demolding these coasters. Overall, I think these coasters turned out really great, and I absolutely love the wispy effect I got with the inks. And I'm so glad I didn't end up with as much white negative space like I thought I was. I know this technique won't be everyone's cup of tea, but I do highly recommend it, and it is a lot of fun to do. Another thing I'm loving about these coasters is how vibrant the colors are. It really shows that the inks are nicely pigmented, and it also goes to show with this technique, one drop of ink is enough to get beautiful results. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite alcohol ink brand is for resin. Now, if I had to choose a favorite, I think I would go with the brown one. I absolutely love how the red and the green ones turned out, but I really like how the white ink went stringy in the brown coaster, and I'm not sure if that's the right way to describe it, but I think it makes it look a bit more 3D, and I just like how it adds a bit more detail to the coaster. Be sure to let me know down in the comments which coaster is your favorite. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something. If you did, then please smash the like button and let me know what you think about this technique. If you'd like to see other resin techniques I've tried on this channel, then be sure to check out one of the videos that's popping on screen now. Thanks so much for watching.